To get. All right. Now, coming to the assessment criteria for section 1, you have 15 marks for language and you have 15 marks for task fulfillment. So, students, what you need to ensure for getting the topmost band, right, that is like obviously the best marks, and that would be 13, 14 or 15 out of 15. Use a variety of sentence structures, right? So you will be using a varied syntax. Use simple, compound, complex, all types of sentences. Some can be short, others should be long. Don't have a list of short sentences and then a list of long sentences. Combine short sentences with conjunctions. I'm sure you people have a good hand at that, being in having come all the way learning English at this level. Appropriate tenses, catched नहीं लिखना, teached नहीं लिखना, swimmed नहीं लिखना, ठीक है? So the right forms of the verbs, the 3 forms, like अगर swim है तो swim, swam, swam, spread, spread ही रहता है in all 3 forms. So you should have, this is something that is a part of your assessment criteria for language here, a wide vocabulary, right? It means non-repetitive, something which you are, if you've used the word friend once, do not use it another time. Use associate, use comrade, pal, which is informal language, but it depends on what you're writing, you can use that. So this is why you need to have a better diction or a wider vocabulary so that you're not repeating. But let me just briefly tell you something here as a linguist myself. Do not shy away from using simple vocabulary. Bachcho, there is nothing wrong with saying beautiful or writing words such as sweat. She was sweating instead of perspiring. It's not always that you have to go for a better word. Your examiner doesn't expect the thesaurus on the paper. He wants you to use the language as a tool appropriately. I usually say this thing which I'm going to share with you people as well, to my own students. It's not just about using correct English, it's about using English correctly. You see the difference? The language has to be correct, but then you have to use the language correctly. ठीक है? You may have, I'll give you yet another example to have this thought more embedded in your mind here, कि बेटा जब हम vocabulary की बात करते हैं तो उसमें it's एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको यहाँ ये दे सकती हूँ कि ओके यू आर मेकिंग समथिंग एंड यू हैव 2 टूल्स, आपके पास एक्स है और शवल है, ठीक है? अब आप जहाँ पे एक्स यूज होनी है वहाँ शवल यूज कर लो, क्योंकि शवल आपको ज्यादा ब्रांडिश्ड है, ज्यादा पॉलिश्ड है, ठीक है? तो वो काम, वो चीज जो बनेगी वो खराब बनेगी, बिकॉज इट रिक्वायर्ड एन एक्स, डिडंट रिक्वायर अ शवल, दो योर शवल लुक्ड बेटर देन द एक्स. बात मेरी समझ रहे हो ना? So the thing is, the point that I'm making here is, if you use the word petrified just because it's individually high flown, and my examiner would be thrilled कि मुझे तो petrify पता है, लेकिन आप वहाँ use कर रहे हो जहाँ उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है, तो it will backfire, ठीक है? It will have no impact. Instead, if you had said, I was frightened, but that conveys the thought and that is okay according to the context, nothing like it. So please do not be, ये जो हमारी एक colonialistic approach है ना, कि हमने बस एक high sounding word use करना है to get ourselves through. नहीं. English language is a language. You should know a lot of words, but using them appropriately is even more important. And as an examiner, I insist on that more than the former. Accurate punctuation, where to use a comma, where to put a period or a full stop, parenthesis, ellipses, dashes, hyphen, semicolon, colon, ये सारे punctuation marks हैं, speech marks, and you should know how you have to use them appropriately. Correct spelling, something which we tend to ignore at times, but it does have its impact on your writing as such, so you should be careful. And for this I would actually encourage you people to proofread. When we are proofreading na bachcho, when you have written and you're about to turn in your script, just give it a read, go through it at times. And you know, all these celebrated writers, they have dozens of manuscripts, हम कहते हैं वो जो ये बनाते हैं original script अपनी, discarded before they end up with something which is sent for publication, right? So if they would be doing that, you don't have that luxury, obviously. Don't do that कि अपना answer sheet discard करके फेंक दी. It's just one go, but at least reading it and then very neatly correcting anything that you are able to identify as a mistake, that is important. Linking paragraphs. All right, now we have these signal words. ठीक है, ये लिख लो. And there is again a plethora of signal words bank online as well, words such as besides, apart from it, also, moreover, furthermore, conversely, on the other hand, and whatnot. बहुत सारे हैं. Use them to link your paragraphs suddenly, soon after. Don't have disjointed paragraphs. For when you have bachcho disjointed sentences or paragraphs, there is no cohesion. It's all just falling apart. So when a thought falls apart in a writing, the reader will never be able to understand what you initially had in mind as a writer. And that's when there is a gap between the writer and the reader, that's where you lose the battle. So there has to be a constant link. There has to be constant link. Mark my word. Constant का मतलब होता है without a break. Continuously मैं कह रही, constant कह रही हूँ. So there has to be a constant link बच्चों between the reader and the writer. And how can you best exhibit that in your writing? By linking your sentences and your paragraphs, which are the building blocks of your writing, obviously. ठीक है. अच्छा जी, moving on to the other part of your assessment criteria for section 1, which is task fulfillment. Okay, अब इसमें जो है a bit it becomes little more technical, but you'll see a repetition of a few things that I've already talked about in our episode here. Inclusion and elaboration of 3 content points, easy. Appropriate format. If you're writing a letter, it should be written as a letter. If you're asked to write a magazine article, it should be a magazine article. It cannot be otherwise. A suitable tone and register. So tone and register is something that will keep reappearing during the course of a directed writing session here. Apt beginning and ending, a suitable beginning and ending. Again, if you're writing to the principal to inform, it should begin accordingly. And if you are writing to the police as an eyewitness, the beginning should be in keeping with that. And ending is where you sum it all up. You give your, it should be a conclusive ending in your directed writing. So it shouldn't have a new movement ahead. It should be more like wrapping it all up. Okay? Given information used to justify personal opinion. So whatever information you are presenting has to be justifying whatever opinion any person in the situation would have about it, right? So again, being realistic as a writer is very important. I'll just give you a very, I'll keep referring to these things because as a teacher, as an old teacher in the other sense, you come across so many interesting things in your everyday life professionally that they just stick around, and then I'm the kind of person who would keep referring to them, and so that others learn as well. Now, when you talk about being realistic, we had this question, a past paper question, where you're talking about this one man in your community who is in obscurity. Nobody knows, the public eye doesn't know that he is serving the community, your area somehow. And you find out about that person who nobody knows about, and he's doing something good, and you're writing to the editor, to the news editor about him in a letter. Now, but I remember a couple of students, and obviously I do appreciate that you give it a shot and you have your imaginative skills and everything. But then, beta, you need to keep the entire thing in mind. Now, if there's a person, one person, not an NGO, who is serving the community unknown to anyone in obscurity, and yet he's feeding 100 or 1,000 people per day, ठीक है, or he has got 30 people married in a month, 30 orphans married off in a month. There is an element of doubt as to how a single person is managing it. No doubt that the work done is phenomenal, but then one person without any help, nobody knows, only you've got to know somehow through a friend or whatever. So this is something that weakens your task fulfillment. तो यहाँ जो आपके task fulfillment के marks है ना, वो आपकी awareness of why you writing and what you writing भी है ना. So it's very important, students, for you to understand that it should be realistic enough. A clear understanding of the task and content. Yes, you should have a very clear understanding of what you're writing. And when you talk about the assessment grid that CAIE has, the Cambridge Syndicate has for this particular section, there is this thing very clearly written: your awareness of task and content. So how well aware you are of what you're writing, who you're writing to, and why you're writing. All these things are very, very important. So this is an advice here.